Yep, another week and another Jonathan Kuminga update here as we are less than a month away from the qualifying offer deadline on October 1st. A Warriors insider has the latest on the impasse between Golden State and Kuminga. We're going to break it all down in just a moment. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. This is why you subscribe. I feel like, I'll gas myself up a little bit here. We've been bringing you the best Jonathan Kuminga coverage all offseason long. Any and all Warriors updates that we have seen this offseason, even though they haven't made a move, we've been making videos. Subscribe to the channel if you are a diehard Warriors fan and you want free, informative Dubs content every single day on YouTube. Alrighty, Dalton Johnson of NBC Sports Bay Area says, the Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga are still miles apart, it appears. Not good. We know this has been an awkward situation from the get-go. Kuminga gets drafted into a situation where he's a lottery pick on a team that is a contender in this league with Hall of Fame level players leading the way in Steph, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, and was never really able to blossom into the player at least that he thinks that he is. And the whole backstory to where this whole situation is Kuminga does view himself as an all-star potential level player that could be a building block of a franchise and somebody that should be the focal point of an offense. And that's just not where the Golden State Warriors are right now. They're led by Steph Curry, man. He's a top 10 basketball player that's ever walked the planet. And it just doesn't make sense for the Warriors to invest in a 22-year-old who really has not completed his game, really, on both ends of the floor. The Warriors then trade for Jimmy Butler here after really holding Jonathan Kuminga out of a ton of trade conversations, but they did have him involved in a framework to send to Phoenix in order to bring Kevin Durant back to Golden State. That didn't end up working out, and they decided to bring in Jimmy Butler here to, just bring some more star power into Golden State and further their championship ceiling. They trade for Jimmy Butler after Jonathan Kuminga goes down via injury. He had an ankle sprain on January 4th, was out basically 2 months there, and the Warriors kind of built up this whole chemistry with Butler in the lineup and without JK. Kuminga then struggles to fit in next to the stars in this whole new conglomerate and this new Warriors team, because it really was a new Warriors team. They were on a 60-win pace when Jimmy Butler entered the fold. And then eventually he was benched towards the end of the season. He looked off Steph Curry a bunch of times during the Portland Trailblazers game, the penultimate game of the regular season, and Steve Kerr benched him. And they eventually took him out of the lineup completely. DNP'd in the season finale, the play-in game, and most of the first-round series against the Houston Rockets. Now, he re-enters the Warriors lineup because Steph gets hurt in Game 1 against Minnesota, and then he puts up big numbers, and he's getting talked up a bunch on Twitter, and he's probably feeling himself a bunch, and he thinks he's going to get a big payday in free agency, and that makes him want to play elsewhere because he knows that that's not going to be the reality coming back to Golden State, and he's looking for a sign-and-trade. Now, all these discussions happened during the offseason. Like, the Warriors had interest from the Phoenix Suns, from the Sacramento Kings, from a couple other teams potentially as well, but there were some offers from those two teams, Phoenix and Sacktown, and they just didn't entice Golden State. So the Warriors at this point are fed up with all of the lowball offers in their eyes, so they've cut off all sign-and-trade discussions. The Warriors have an offer out to Jonathan Kuminga that is 2 years, $45 million. The second year of this deal has a team option, though. None of the money is guaranteed, so that would actually carry a no-trade clause in that contract. Golden State is only signing their end of that deal if Jonathan Kuminga waives that no-trade clause in the contract. Kuminga wants no trade mid-season basically whatsoever unless it's to the only place that he would want to go, and that's what we're going to get to later. But he doesn't want to be traded, so he doesn't want to waive that no-trade clause, and now he's threatened to accept a qualifying offer, which carries a no-trade clause, $7.9 million, and he would be an unrestricted free agent in 2026. Now, here is what Dalton Johnson is reporting the latest. To ensure Kuminga doesn't sign the qualifying offer, which essentially would eliminate any option of trading him this season and severely hurt roster building, the Warriors will have to convince him what they're proposing is much better than the last resort of taking that $8 million. The first way to do that is ceding the team option for a player option. That would guarantee basically all the money on that second year of the deal. The second is to simply give him more money up front, making the team option less of a sticking point in the end. The first year of the Kuminga deal for Golden State is $21.75 million. They could potentially bump that up a little bit. They can maybe even guarantee some of the money, maybe about half of it in year 2, and that could get them over the finish line potentially because the no-trade clause would be wiped away. If the main goal also for Golden State is to trade Jonathan Kuminga, then why don't you give yourselves a little bit more of a leeway and give him a $23 million contract in year one, so you have a little bit better of a contract to take back on, a better salary, a better player to enter back into your roster. Now, this whole reporting should not be much of a surprise for Warriors fans because, look, man, this has been the situation. Jonathan Kuminga is threatening this qualifying offer. He's not going to move off of threatening the qualifying offer until something is changed. He says he's not accepting this deal, then he's not accepting this deal. And until Golden State budges, we're not going to get anywhere. And it's weird, right? Like, I don't know why we're in this situation because Jonathan Kuminga doesn't even want to be a member of the Golden State Warriors. It makes no sense that this no trade clause is what is holding up this whole scenario because he wants to be traded. He wants to play elsewhere. So why is that the holdup at this point? It doesn't make sense if the money, the thing is, he's foregoing $13 million plus on the offer that Golden State has out there right now versus the $8 million that he would get on the qualifying offer. But the only reason he's taking the qualifying offer is because of the no trade clause. Why do you want the no trade clause, Kuminga? Because it makes no sense. You can get a head start on the next spot in your career. You're already thinking about 2026. He's already thinking, if he's thinking about the qualifying offer, Jonathan Kuminga is already thinking towards 2026. So what would a midseason trade really do for you in that scenario? Plus, you probably would be eligible to make more money from whatever team you end up getting traded to this season. Or you really think that situation is going to be substantially worse than whatever situation you're going to have in Golden State this upcoming year? That doesn't make any sense. But Golden State cannot afford for Jonathan Kuminga to accept the qualifying offer for a couple of reasons. The qualifying offer basically says you can't trade him this upcoming year. Not only because he makes $7.9 million, so you would already have to throw in like Buddy Hield or somebody like that who you do not want to trade right now. That's what's holding up the offer from Sacramento. You don't want to trade away Buddy Hield or Moses Moody. You then have to include them to get any player of value back. But that's all off the table completely because your bird rights are dropped if you accept the qualifying offer and then end up getting traded. The team that acquires Jonathan Kuminga would not have his bird rights. So there's no incentive to actually make a trade for Kuminga mid-season if he doesn't accept this Warriors offer in some capacity. And then the Warriors' best asset at the deadline is off the market at that point. They cannot make any big trades. Clearly the most enticing player on Golden State's roster that is available via trade is Jonathan Kuminga, and that would be completely wiped away. They would lose him for nothing, and Joe Lacob, I would continue to laugh at him. Now, Kuminga then becomes a massive distraction during the season. If no trade can happen at this point, then I think you can kiss a championship goodbye, to be quite honest, because the vibes are not going to be there. Whether the Kuminga experiment, keeping him this upcoming season, at least for the start, ends up working out in an on-court scenario, it is still going to loom this dark cloud over the Warriors' heads that Kuminga is not a long-term piece on this team, and he's probably going to leave no matter what this upcoming season because the core of Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond is going to carry into 2026, 2027. That's the last year of all three of those guys' deals, and Kuminga just probably doesn't want to wait that long to be the player that he thinks he can blossom into. So it becomes a whole distraction. The media will be asking about it all season long, leading up to January 15th when he's eligible to be traded. It just makes no sense, and we're way too deep into the situation to where we could have been at this point. And then, what if you can't trade him, right? There's hasn't been really much of a market to your liking to this point. Who's to say that just because you have more money available to send out in a trade means that he's going to command more value back to you that you're going to like? Especially when you consider he has such an uncertain role in this offense, has such an uncertain role on this roster. Steve Kerr does not care. I'm sure he cares a little bit, but I'm sure he doesn't care what the Jonathan Kuminga's trade value is. He wants to go out there and win basketball games night in, night out. It's about the present for him at this point. So he doesn't really care about playing Kuminga. We've seen that to this point. So at this point, do you try to repair that relationship? I don't really think it's salvageable, and we've heard all indications from Kuminga and his representation that it's not salvageable. So I don't really know where you turn from here. I think that there's always the possibility, though, on Kuminga's side of things, that he gives in to Golden State, and he doesn't want to risk the idea that, his role could be super uncertain, and then he ends up getting way less than he really could in free agency next offseason. You never know. If Golden State ends up trading him this season and he has that team option, the team that trades for him could just accept that, and he could still get a substantial payday in 26-27, and then be an unrestricted free agent in 2027, and then run this whole thing back. He'll be 24 years old. But Kuminga could always fold to Golden State in this scenario, and based on the precedent that we've seen before with guys taking the qualifying offer. See Nerlens Noel right here with the Dallas Mavericks. He forewent 4 years, $70 million with Dallas in order to try to get a max deal the following summer. He ended up getting a bunch of injuries that year, averaged 4.4 points per game, and then he took a deal for the vet minimum that following year. And it didn't work out for him at all. That same reality could end up happening for Kuminga, and his agent has said that that is a real fear for them, but they are willing to take the risk at this point. Because the difference between Jonathan Kuminga and Nerlens Noel, and there are more examples of this, but typically it happens with guys who are oft injured. Jonathan Kuminga has more output than Nerlens Noel does. I mean, Nerlens Noel was averaging like 10 and 7, and that was just an absolute mismanagement, like more laughable than what Kuminga is doing at this point. But Kuminga also doesn't have the lengthy injury history that Nerlens Noel does. He came into the league coming off a torn ACL. Kuminga's got this 2-month ankle sprain, which again, ridiculous length for an ankle sprain, but that's really all he's had so far in his career to limit him. Look, I get the guy wanting to take the risk, and I get the guy wanting to bet on himself. I just don't think it's that great of a situation for him to be betting on himself in, considering the uncertainty and his spot in the rotation and the money that he's already facing at this point. What do you guys think? Predict the outcome for me. If Jonathan Kuminga takes the qualifying offer and Golden State does not budge and they absolutely get screwed in this whole situation, I don't think that's very likely. Type QO down in the comments section. If Jonathan Kuminga accepts the Golden State offer, type GSW. If the two sides meet in the middle and create a new deal, type new down below. I want to hear from Dub Nation on what you guys think. Next, we're going to talk about a little bit thing we referenced yesterday quickly at the end of yesterday's show. Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, they were working out in the gym a few days ago, and I want to explain to you guys why that's a pretty big deal. We'll tell you in a moment, but first, get hooked up with this awesome Warriors heavyweight long sleeve tee. Nike, it's fresh. It's the City Edition colorway from last season, and soon enough, they're going to release a new City Edition colorway, so get yours today on a discount, $35. Chatsports.com/dubcity. Chatsports.com/dubcity. Don't worry, you don't have to type it out. I'll put that link in the comment section and description of today's video. Dalton Johnson tweeted it out. I would reference this at the end of today's show. If you missed that show, go back and watch it. Give it a like as well. Draymond Green, after working out with Jimmy Butler in Los Angeles, we getting that bleep this year. Fire me up, Draymond. I'm all for it. He did say that back at the All-Star break, and the Warriors didn't win the title this past year. Draymond said that he's right where he needs to be at this part of the offseason. Jimmy Butler was in that video as well. Draymond asked him how he's feeling. Jimmy said, great, and I'm feeling great as well for this duo to be back there on the floor. Look, there were a lot of concerns when we brought Jimmy Butler into the fold here in Golden State just due to the clashing personalities. Big personalities of Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler, and it's worked out really, really well so far. The two seem to be awesome friends. And look, the Warriors need to get off to a strong start this year, like they got off to when Jimmy Butler was traded for back in February, like they got off to at the beginning of last season before DeAnthony Melton went down. The Warriors were 12-3 before that ACL tear, and it kind of derailed them for the time being until they made the Butler deal. The Warriors have to get off to a similar start this upcoming season. And they don't have to be on a 63-win pace like they were when Jimmy Butler started in Golden State. But they do have to get onto a strong start because the West is super competitive. And I think the regular season genuinely matters now with how much talent is in the Western Conference. And Draymond Green knows that. He said this. He said, I think coming back next year, I think we'll be in an even better position than we were this year. Number one, because you can mortgage the season better or manage the season better, which helps when you're trying to compete for a championship, especially at the ages we're at. It helps a lot. Look, I know working out together, Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, they're at 35 years old. Like, it doesn't guarantee a championship. Just as these guys are working the offseason, getting a little bit of it is on video. It doesn't guarantee a championship, but it does help build chemistry, and that is necessary, right? And it's not something that we all thought was guaranteed when we made this trade. So it's awesome to see these guys working, and it's awesome to see them just become personal like friends in this scenario. It's more than the basketball, because for guys like this, Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler, what resonates with them and what raises the floor of the chemistry out there for them is these kinds of personal relationships. And Draymond said this back in his exit interview. He said, now you've got a whole offseason. I get to be around my guys in the offseason. We're going to get to vacate together. We're going to get to our kids together. We're going to get to train together, build even more chemistry, and then take this thing into training camp and into the next year, this next season, and do what we set out to do. And now we see it in action. Like that is the plan this upcoming year, is to get these guys a full season. And look, they're going to have to load manage some games. Like all three of them are 35 and 36 years old. Steph's 37. Like it is going to be a meticulous season as far as managing who and when are going to play when in Golden State. But I feel confident that they have a plan out there, aside from the Kuminga nonsense. As far as what Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond got going on, I'm pretty confident in what Golden State has, because what we saw last year was awesome. When Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler were out there on the floor together, they were 23-7. That's a 77 win percentage. You're on a 63 win pace. They're not going to be a 63 win team this upcoming year because these guys are going to take time off. But I want to see, more than 30, 35 games with Butler, Green, and Curry out there on the floor together. They were the best defensive unit in the NBA, and I know they were playing not the best competition toward the back half of the NBA season last year, but I'm taking what we can get. The numbers don't lie, and this team is going to be formidable. And I swear to God, if they're in the play-in again, I will be ripping my hair out. If you guys are fired up for the Warriors season, I honestly feel like it's almost here. We are like 6 weeks away at this point. I'm fired up. Show me if you are down below. Like the video. Smash that thumbs up icon, as that will do it for today's edition of Warriors Today. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. We'll be keeping tabs on the entire Jonathan Kuminga situation as it unfolds. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go Dubs.